From yesterday where we stopped. So yesterday we were explaining about roadmaps and let us also see rest of other talk on configurations. Okay, so we will just review our yesterday's class and we'll move to the next topic. So while we are talking about modifying the roadmap, so roadmap is something what we are going to do, the steps what a user is going to do, the workflow process, right? So here modify the form roadmap. Sorry. Yeah, manage roadmaps. So here in the manage roadmaps, we will let us go and open any of the existing roadmaps. Okay. So here, as we have seen yesterday, I was just explaining like this roadmap components are how many? There are two types. It is consist of the stages and the steps, right? What is that stage is specifying about? The stage specifies about the type of actions that your users are going to perform, where in the form templates throughout your when you are going to lose your performance cycle, like modify stage or signature stage and completion stage. So using all these stages, that means within each stage we have again some steps. And with all these steps, what we are going to do within each stage, you are specifying the users that what they are supposed to perform and what is that their role is being specified within each step for each stage. Right. So here this roadmap is having a lot of other steps, for example, right? In each stage, we have some steps in order to specify the name, in order to specify the signature, and so on. Let us understand in a simple way. When we say about modify stage, where you can edit the step name, the step description, and what is the reviewer roles and the dates and so on. You can see the roles which we have a different type, single role, iterative and collaborative. I'll explain that. Now, you see in the signature stage, what you are going to do here, you are going to edit the step name, for example, employee signature, and the description, the types, and the dates. Okay. And next you see the completion stage. What is that you are going to do? You are going to edit the step name and then you are also going to select carbon copy roles where who has to copy the role when your form is going to be completed. Right. When you come to this modify stage, the first step you see a single role, iterative and collaboration. What is this? If you are going to select a single role, what happens? That means you are going to assign the form to a single user. Okay. You are going to assign this form to a single user, whether he can be employee, whether he can be a manager, and so on. And when you are going to select this step, that means you are going to assign the form to two or more people. Okay. When you look at this very clearly, but you are going to specify these people that whether they are going to do roles as employee for entry user, manager, exit user. This is how that you are going to circulate this form by using this one. It depends upon how the form has to move on from one user to another user, whether this form is only to a single user and so on. Now, when you are going to select a collaboration, that means you can assign the form to a two or more people at the same time. You look at here very carefully and you can assign the number of roles. Okay, it is possible, right? So when you go back to our role, what we were taking about yesterday, I was taking something, example as roadmap 2016, something we have taken. Yeah, this was our, which was our, let me see the date. Yesterday we have done, right. Take this. Right. So the same rule applies here for any kind of the for roadmaps we have, right? So this is how we need to understand. But before you are going to create the templates, the form templates for your performance, so you are going to use the roadmaps and what is that another one we have taken? Rating scales. So now we will go back to the admin center and let us understand how to manage the performance form templates. Now you will see here the manage templates here. Right. Before we go on the configure, what you need to do first? You need to go on create our rating scales and modify if required, because already they are set up in the system. Okay, all that XML templates as a default, and it is always recommended you copy or make slight changes if required. In the same way you have to do with the roadmaps. Then once you done, you have to go and create and manage your performance form templates. Right. If you want to create your own form templates, in the same way, even for performance management and even in provisioning, we already have the standard XML form templates. So what is that you always, it's always recommended, you always, if you need, okay, any kind of changes to that, maybe some slight changes, it is always recommended to modify them. Rather, you go and create. So otherwise you just go and copy before you are going to start a new performance cycle. Why you need to copy existing performance cycle? Suppose if by mistake, if you are going to modify an existing performance cycle, if the same, sorry, if the same form template is already used by any other user, if you are trying to make use, if you are trying to make some changes, what is going to happen? It is going to affect the previous year's forms which are already in use by the some of the users. So you, what happens, this will help, okay, so this will help you to run your reports, even so that it is not going to impact even your reportings. The main concept is for reporting purpose, nothing other than that. So what you always have to do when you are going to do, you are going to set up, whether you copy or whether you make slight changes, and with a different name you save it. So here in the manage templates, what is that we are going to concentrate? We already have the templates and modify it, and within this form templates, we have some advanced settings configurations. We have some advanced settings. It's very important. Okay, whether you have to make some fields, like editing or deleting or writing assistance and so on, we will make them. Suppose if you want to change that, roadmaps and rating scales which are already assigned, is it possible to change? Yes, we can change. Right, we will see all of them now by creating our understanding about manage performance management form templates. Right, you can just go and click on manage templates. Now if you want to copy, what you can do, you can just go and click on add a new template, and you can see here the templates available here: annual review and manager only annual review. Now if you want to have a preview, so if you want to see the preview of this form template, you can just go and click on and you are able to see the form template. Right, this is one second, it's showing like this. should show this one second. It's supposed to show the preview, but one second. There are some options here where you can also download your XML files directly. So there are a lot of changes are taking place. Yeah, you must be able to see that preview like this. I'll tell you what are the changes have taken place so far. Even that class also will explain. But here you find some option where you can download your XML files directly here itself. I don't see that option here. Right, no problem. So what we can do, we will just go and add, okay, the form template first. Right, you can just go and click on this and you can just go and add to my instance. When you are going to add to my instance, I'm just going to give the name as underscore 2016 and save it. Of course, it's already there existing. What you can do, you can just, go and save it, and you can do whatever you want. Right. So this is something, a preview of the form templates which we are going to use. Right. If you just look at here, in this form template, we are going to use the goals, we are going to use the competencies, and we are going to use the rating scales, and we are going to use the roadmaps. Where in this form templates. And now you see here, this is just an example. Now, when you look at here, this form template, annual review, you look at your general settings, edit fields and the sections, right? So what is that you are going to do here in the general settings? In the general settings is something where you find some important information about you this particular template, like who can edit, you know, who can edit, or something like the template, the description, and the workflow roadmaps. And you can see here the roadmap, whichever you have you created, you need to assign it here. The rating scale you have created, it has to be assigned, and you also see the advanced settings. See, it is very easy to save act, right? In the same way, you also have a edit fields and sections. Right. This is where you find a number of elements in the form templates which is already there customized, and you can also add your own fields and sections for directly by using this add a new section. So is there any necessity for you to go and open your XML and make? So that is why you have to create directly. It's very simple. The most of the time your XML configurations are case sensitive. What happens, it will give you lot of errors. So as a best practice, what you need to do, it is always that best you start working here directly if necessary. When you all the goals are available, if there are some changes, you can just go on make all the changes. Now let us understand from the general settings. Now let us do something here. In the general settings, when you can see the name, and you can see if you are having any other languages, it has to be translated. You can also add your own language, and you can see the description here, okay, where it will help you all the users, like the instruction. It's a description is where the users will find as an instruction. This will help them. Now here you have to specify the workflow is nothing but your roadmap. So which we have, which was our one, ours 2016. Now just go and click on add. Now you can see the description for the roadmap which you have selected automatically at the bottom. See, in the same way, when you are not assigning, if you suppose by mistake you don't assign a rating scale and you save it, the system is not going to allow you to save it. So rating scale is required. So what you need to do, you whatever the rating scale you created, you have to just go and assign. That is, which was ours? Rating scale 2017, right? Right. This is the one. Now, do you want to hide numeric rating values? If you require, you just, that means only text labels will be shown. Otherwise, you just leave it. Now you see the unable to rate. So that means what you can do, you can place some text here, whether excellent, maybe good or bad or something. Automatically this will be applied for all the other fields as well. Okay, you just leave that. Now you just click on advanced options. Now you see there are a lot of settings here. But what I'll do, I am not going to explain these advanced settings now. At the end, I will explain about these advanced settings where you need to understand this very carefully, because from this place, you have so many certification questions. Very important. Now you just come here and click on show options for advanced settings and advanced options. This is different. This is different. Now, do you want to enable the previous step button? That means if you want to go back, if you want to move further for this particular form template, you can just go on enable. And you want to enable the delete button for this particular form annual review template, you can just go on enable. Right. So you can enable the scales, adjusted calculation and so on. You can just leave it. And now you can just go and save the general settings for your annual review form templates. Now let us understand the fields and sections. Right. So here the first thing, we have a introduction. The introduction section is where you can add the text about, okay, of these particular form templates for the users, and who is going to fill the form. Right. Now you can see the introduction. If there is something, welcome to your performance review. And if you want to add any other languages you want template, you can just go and add a language. Okay. By clicking on add a language, you can just go and add it. Automatically, it applies to the system. Right. Now you also see the options here, advanced options. Not required. It's something like, where you want to allow them the permissions, right? Whether they can hide, whether they disable. You don't need to change anything, just leave it. It's something like permissions for the users to modify this particular form template. Okay, whether they can hide and all, and you specify the role and the road steps. Okay, you just give directly all. Since we are understanding this, then later on you can test it and understand the changes to the system in the module picker here. Right. Now let us understand the first objectives. When you see the objectives, what it is all about? Goals. The goals sometimes can also be referred as objectives. Right. So when you look at this, now you don't have to think what is this all about. It's nothing but a goals. In the goals section of this particular form, it is associated with either with the goal section, or it should be the developmental plan section. Right. So you also see that the objective, this step name, the description and so on. Now you see this objective which you are going to use for the goals which you created in the goal management, or for the development plan. If you are going to use for the development plan, what you need to do, you need to select available succession and development. Do you remember? So you have to just go and add, and which where you can also use the templates. Now ours is not about the development plan. Now we have to just go and select a goals section. Now what you need to do, you have to go and specify your goal which you have created. So what was our goal that we created in the goal management? That was, I think, basic goal plan for 2016. So what you need to do, you have to specify, okay, your goal plan. In the same way, you also see the advanced options. You want to include the ability to enter the weight, like, it should be the same, right? Include a comment for each item, include overall comment, right? You want to display the section in a summary, and you see a lot of other things, right? You can see everything here. And simultaneously, you can also see the rating scale which we have assigned for the objective. See, automatically you can see here. And now you can see the permissions as well. Permissions to modify, you can just go and click on this, whether who can edit, who can see this particular objective plan, you can just assign it. So then whatever that you specify, it is going to be applied to all the users, and the users will be able to see that all the changes and all that you enable, they are able to see everything in the performance of this general navigation menu. In the same way, you look at the core values. So when you look at these core values, what is the use of these core values? Competencies. Okay, this is a section where you are going to specify the competencies of the form. That has to be either it is a job specific, whether it is a core, you have to go and specify. So here also you can see the name and the core values and your sections and all, and you can see just leave it as a core. So when you specify core values, that means you are going to set this one for your company. You can see the competency section of the form are configurable to but either for core values you have set for your company or job specific competencies. Creating and managing competencies is done in a separate administrative tools. I'll tell you. Here we are going to use a core. Why? Because we also have a job specific competencies. So here we will use the job specific competencies, right? If you have any other custom, you can just go and specify your competencies. Next here also you can see the advanced options, and it is same like which you have seen. Now let us see about the job specific competencies. So this is something where it is going to pull the data. Job specific competencies, it's going to pull the data for the users based on their job profile. So here also you see the same, and you can also look at here the advanced options where you want to allow the users like to add a competencies. You see here. So whatever the competencies available in the system, the users will be able to add their own competencies. Do you want to allow the users to include a comment for each item, include overall item, display the section and summary, and so on. Next, you see the performance summary. This performance summary is something where it displays the summary about all the evaluation of the form. This section is sometimes it is called as overall performance of a summary. Sometimes it is also called as assessment. Okay, so we can call it as assessment summary, overall summary, and now you see look at here. For objectives, it is a 34, the weight, the percentage, the core values were given 33 percentage, and the job specific competence were given 33%. The overall, the weight for this annual review should be 100 percentage. So you can also define as you can change it here, and the same applies for the users for this particular form template, but it should be at the end 100 percentage. And here also we have some of the options here, like you can just name it. Right. Now you can see the last one is a signature step. The signature is section of the form where the users can sign out the form. Completion status. Okay. Completion status. So once we just done, you need to just go and save your form successfully, right? And you can see like introduction, and here you can see the objectives, core values, and job specific competencies, performance summary, and a signature and so on. And you can see the finalized form, send to a previous step, save and finish later, and delete a form. Why you are able to see this delete form in the preview? Why you are able to see this send to previous step? The reason we in the general settings we have enabled. In the general settings, what we have done, we have enable in the advanced options. These are the ones. Now let us come to the advanced settings. Okay. In the advanced settings, what is that we are going to do? Here we have a different elements of this particular form. How this form has to behave, right? Like, maybe like enabling what we call the buttons, like delete buttons, like, writing assistant buttons are options that where they can find some information. Something like, if you want to change the templates for the existing, maybe rating scales, the roadmaps, which we have already assigned, can be also used to change here directly in the advanced settings. But it is always important to note that when editing to form the templates, you should be carefully review when you are going to change. The reason it is already maybe they're existing, maybe it's already assigned to the other users as well. Of course, it is already explained, but still we need to remember. Right. These advanced settings are accessed where via the general settings section of the form template. Now, let us see all these general advanced settings in the general settings depending on the configuration for this particular form template. Let us see. So, starting from the default start date, right? The default start date, the default end date, the default due date of what? Of your performance form, okay, for what we call the review of an employee. This is going to be specified whether the default start date, end date, and the due date has to be fixed or relative to the form creation date, the default due date, or the form creation date. For the due date, this is for end date, and so on. But if the form has to take effect for this particular form template, you can also specify the dates after which the date has to start. Whether how you need to specify +0, +1, or if it is there before like -1, -2, -3, and so on, you have to specify. Okay, so the default start date and the default end date and default due date of your form template review period. That means when your review period of your form template has to start, when your review period of the form template has to end, what is your review period of your form template? The due date. It can be fixed, it can be relative to the forms that you created, maybe it can be very flexible, it can be before certain periods, maybe after certain dates. How the form has to behave within these dates. So when you are going to launch the form in this particular, for a review purpose for the users, the date entered are used within that specific dates only. Now, if we just look at here again the roadmap here, okay. So here, if you want to change the roadmap which you have already assigned, you can also change here directly, and you are able to see the drop down, and you can change it. In the same way, you can also see here the template. Okay, this we cannot change. Right. Okay. Now let me explain here automatic manager transfer. This is another important concept. Now you see, these options you need to select here if the document has to be transferred to a new manager. If the document has to be transferred to a new manager, you have to select. When the document has to transfer, when your form template is going to be completed. So during your review period, the form has to be sent to a automatic the inbox. The ones that you are okay, it depends upon when your form is in inbox. Automatically, the form has to be transferred. And if the form is about to start and the form has to be sent to a new manager, is it required? And automatic complete document copy to a new manager. If the form has to be completed, if the form is about to complete and the form has to be copied to a new manager, so if that is the case, you have to go and specify. So these settings are need to align with the settings that you have to go and specify, because these are important. So based on these settings that you are going to specify will be applied for this particular specific form, and based on that you specify here automatic manager transfer. When how the form has to transfer. When the form is in your inbox, when the form is in your enrouting, when the form is in a status of completed. So whether the form has to be transferred, whether the form has to be completed, whether the form has to be copied, so you need to select those options as well. Now, if you just look at here, there are some other options at the bottom you can see, like, do you want to enable the spelling checker? You all remember that in Introduction to Mastery, we have seen spelling checking, editing legal scan library, and enabling writing assistant. This will help the users how this form has to be enabled. Do you want to disable the delete button which we have enabled? Do you want to disable the late notification, disable the due notification, show digital signature, right? Otherwise, you can just go and enter your own signature, okay, manually. Disallow, that means when you are going to give, because you will be having a digital signature, right? I think it's something we call it as a digital sign. Through pen drive, something we can access, you connect and you copy and paste there, but you will not be able to type it if you are going to enable, right? So in the preview signature section, and you can see the disallow users from changing the start date, disallow the user from changing the end date, disallow the user from changing the due date, and enable the form routing to the previous steps. If you want to enable, you can just go and enable. So these are options are important which will help the users to perform accordingly. With regarding the transferring the form templates to the manager, it's something routing the workflow, and even with regarding the dates, how this form has to respond, and even with regarding the some of the other okay optional features at the bottom you see here. So once done, what you need to do, if you have to apply the changes to the system, you can just go and update the form template. So the form template is saved successfully. But let me tell you one thing. See, once the form is launched, once the roadmap is updated, once the rating scales are updated, is there any chance, for example, we are already using the roadmap in the form templates. We are already using this rating scale in the form template. Is there any chance which is already in use, I want to change some settings with the existing form roadmaps? Is it possible? Let us see what can be done for that kind of scenario. Once it is updated, you just close this window. Now you can just, that's more than enough, you just leave it. And so once it is done, what is the second thing that the next step that you're supposed to do is you have to go on test your new form template. What is that you have to do? You have to go and test your new form template. What are that we have done? The skill steps. First, we have seen a competencies in Introduction to Mastery. Next, we have understood about the goals section, defining about. And then we already came to the PM. We understood about rating scales, and we understood about the roadmaps, and now we have explained about the templates. There are a lot of steps, steps are involved in this performance cycle, review a performance form cycle. Now you have to just go and test the process to validate in the system how it is going to behave here, how it is going to behave, what is you need to expect, how it has you are expecting, how it is behaving. So it is very much critical that you have to test it before you are going to launch the form for your individual users. It is very important. So the testing involves something what we can say the form, the entire process. So you can make sure that the form steps and the sections are working as you have expected, maybe as you have configured. Okay, so what you have to do, you have to, once you test the form, you have to just go and test it as a proxy user whether it is working it properly or not. So what is that another step that we have to do in the performance cycle? You have to go and launch the form for the testing. So if you have to test the form, okay, what you need to do? You have to go and launch the form. This is the one. This is the one. Okay. Now, here while we are going to launch a form, there are 5 steps in the launching forms. The first one, you have to set the launch date, you have to set a review period, you have to select employees, and you also have to see the review summary, and it's done. Now let us see what happens here, and you are able to see all those things here, all those 5 steps in the form template. Now, what is the first thing that you have to do? In the first section is you have to go and select your form template from the drop down list. Okay, whether it is a performance management, whether it is all, you have to just go and select. Now, I'm just doing it for your performance management, and you need to select your form, that is annual review 2016. Now, if you just look at here very carefully, right, we are on the first step. We are not into the first step actually, but still, what you have here, if you want to preview the template, you can just go and preview the template. By clicking on that, you are able to see how the form is going to be displayed for your individual users. Next, if you want to cancel the launch and if you want to modify the template, you can just go and click on this link, and it will takes you to the previous, the manage template section, right, if required. And now you can see that you selected the form template, the description of this, where the users will see, and it is being modified on so-called date, and there are 6 sections within this form template. One is objectives, core values, job specific, competencies, and so on. And you have selected roadmap, and you can see here and the rating scale which are selected, this one. And you should be able to see the summary of the form template which were created in the general settings. Okay, now you just go and click on next. Now as I said, in the form template there are 5 steps. Now you can look at here whether the form has to launch on this today's date, or it can be later date, or it has to reschedule, and you can just go and specify all this, right? So you have all these options, you specify, but I'm just going to launch it to as of today. Next, click on next. Now you see the review period. So whether this review period is based on a calendar days, whether it's based on a last calendar days, or whether the dates to be configured, you can see here, right? And now whether you want to use it a custom, but I want to use this as a calendar here, this calendar here. And you can also see the due date completion. Just forget about, we are not using this, we are just selected this calendar here. Okay, suppose if you want to this, what you see automatically the due date, it is a 2017 January 14th. Okay, click next. Now you have to select employees. Okay, what you need to do, you have to go and select here, do you want to include inactive employees, or it should be all active employees? For example, if you want to select only one employee, you have to go and add that user here. For example, if you want to add a user, Right, I'll add admin, yes. Yes, so one. Now you can see here, earlier it was not like this actually. That is why I will be explaining all this. What are all the changes have been taken with your systems, with your data models and all. Please wait, I'll explain all of those. Now you see here, you are able to see that department, division and so on. If you want to add one more to whom it has to be applied, you can just go and add that user. Right, you can add, and if you want to add the people maybe as a group, and you can select the criteria. But I'll tell you, earlier you were not having this option to say back. You don't have this option as well. Now you only create for users who do not have an existing with end date. So if you want to specify your end date, you can just go and specify that. Otherwise you can just leave it and you can just go and click on next. Now you are into the summary of the form template. Now you should be able to see in the summary section tab like form template, the roadmap. If you want to change it, you can change here. Otherwise, you can just go back. Again, see what happens now. But still, even though you launch the form, there are certain things even then you can do. I will explain. Now the launch immediately, then period from this calendar year, this is a due date, and the review period and the date is the end of this year. Now employees we have added. Do you want to send an email notification to the recipients and create enrolled copy? So leave it. And what you need to do now, you have to just go and click on launch to test the form. Okay, click on OK. Now you saw that forms creation is in progress. You are about to create two forms. You can click in job ID, okay, 20902 for to monitor the job. Click on monitor jobs. Now it is not showing anything, but still it will take time, because where you can also filter as well with these monitor options. Okay, otherwise you can just what you need to do is very simple. Once it is done, now you just go back and here you should be able to find those things here in the performance section. Okay, otherwise what you can do, you can also just go and use it as a proxy now, and you should be able to find. Okay, the form is in progress, and you are able to see something here. This is not the one. Right, we have only just tested. Okay, forget about that. So what is the next thing? We have to go and create our new roadmap, and you can do. Okay, we will explain all this slowly in the next class. So we will see everything, and if you want to see the form status, and you can just go and click on here, and what is that on progress. Okay, you can search here all the forms that you have launched which are already in progress. You don't see anything. Okay, but still you can also see here which is in progress and so on, you can see. But what we have done in that, we have just tested. Okay, after the form is launched, what you need to do, you have to just go and review whether it is moving the steps from one step to another step, and it is as is working properly or not. But we will see all these how it is going to work. Okay, yeah, it is here. Not the one.
Then the second one is ours, right? No. V12, PM V12, that is what I think we created. Yeah, that's the one. Vital.
No, this is not the one. This is not the one. Okay, again I will test it, not a problem. Yeah, this is not the one. And again you see the team overview. is also another new functionality we have in performance management. Earlier in the PMEV11, we don't have this concept actually. Earlier, the current, you have a team overview, that is a new option which we have in the system. Think still that form has not, still that is in progress. So that's why you are not able to see that form. This must be the one. Sorry. Once it is tested, okay. So now you should be able to find here that our particular template we created just now. This is the one. You can see here the forms, right? Just go and click on this, and now you can see the self admin S. Now what you can do, you can just go and create and open the form template. One second. And that form is still on progress. So we'll see other concepts. Still there are so many other concepts in this same topic, and we'll see in the next class. Right.